I just cleared my throat on the live stream. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Live stream doesn't seem to be working. Hmm. Okay. Okay. I think I got the live stream up, hopefully. Hope you guys can hear me. Okay, great. Okay, guys, I'm checking my voice and world to see if it's working. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. Just to let you know that this will be on voice and I'll be going through some settings and different things for photography. So I'll also be live streaming it on my YouTube channel. I'm going to share the link in chat right now in case you guys want a visual of what if I'm going too fast or something and you're not following with the settings and so forth. You can also watch on the YouTube channel so you can see what I'm doing as well, like my menus and so forth, because sometimes it's hard to explain everything without you guys actually looking at it. And I'm gonna start in just a few minutes. And Jenna, there's like ad blockers for that. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I woke up this morning with a little bit of a sore throat and a cough. So if I start hacking in the middle, really sorry about that. But I took some honey and I have my tea and stuff, so hopefully it should be all right. Okay, I'm a little late in starting here. It's past 7 a.m. So I'm gonna start, and hopefully, if you guys, when people come in, they can just grab a seat. So before I do start, I just want to start by saying thank you. Take a moment to say thank you to the Cultivate magazine team for inviting me to do this and for providing such a wonderful platform for artists to share their work. And I'm honored to be a part of it. So thank you, John, and the rest of the team. Let me know if my voice cuts out or anything in the middle. Okay. And I know some of you might not know who I am, so I thought I'd give a little bit of an introduction. My name is Strawberry Singh, and I am a Second Life resident since May 9th, 2007. So I'm getting pretty old. I'm going to be 10 next month. And I think it was in 2007 that I also started like taking pictures, hitting that snapshot button. And I think I joined Flickr with my Strawberry Sing name back in 2007 as well. So I've been doing Second Life photography for quite a while now, and I also do a lot of photoshopping and so forth. But today I didn't really want to get into the post processing of that because that can go all over the place and it can get really detailed. I have a few tutorials on my blog about that. And there is going to be another art talk, and somebody else during this Cultivate art show, somebody else is talking about photoshopping. So if you guys want to come back for that art talk, they can help you with that. So today I'm just going to talk about standard settings that you can adjust for Second Life photography, things that you can do in World that'll improve your just the output that you're going to receive, and the topics I covered that. I don't know if you guys saw my blog post, but if you go to strawberrysing.com, I've covered of a large a little section. I highlighted some of the topics that I'm going to cover. So I'm going to be talking about graphic settings, photo tools in Winlight, depth of field, snapshots, window, and I'm also talk about my computer specifications because in order to get a really high quality image, it's really good to also have a pretty decent computer. There are some recommended parts that Linden Lab itself suggests that you guys should have at least. So I have linked to their page as well, and I've linked to my system computer specifications page, so you can take a look at that. But I wanted to start off with a few of the things. The first thing I always do when I start taking a picture is, of course, adjust my graphic settings. Now, I'm going to try and cover both the Second Life Viewer and Firestorm Viewer, but I am more familiar with Firestorm, and that's the one I'm currently using. So I'm going to be covering that more, but I'll try to give options for the Second Life viewer as well. So if you look on the top right hand corner of your screen in both the viewers, you'll see a little TV screen there. I don't know, you can probably see it in my live chat. And if you hover over it, that's your graphics presets, and you can have different presets set. I have one for photography, even though the default one is the same thing. I haven't saved like one for going to events and so forth. But if you click, if you can create your own presets as well. So if you click on the Open Graphics Preferences, it'll open up the graphics menu for you. That's the very easy way of getting there. If you can't figure out where that is on the top right, you can also just go to Avatar. In the Second Live Viewer, it's Me, and then you go to Preferences from there. And then in this preferences menu, and I just closed it. Let me open it up again. In the graphics, and then you go to the graphics tab, of course. In this graphics menu, this is really, really important for you to play around with if you want to get a very high quality shot. So the most important two options in this tab are the quality and speed and the advanced lighting model. I really suggest everybody to make sure before you take any photography or any machinima or anything like that, please make sure that you have the advanced lighting model checked. Now, although this enabling this may cause instability and performance issues, it also allows other features such as the shadows and lets you choose which light source you want to use for shadows. It also allows you to have materials show up. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with materials. Materials are They're basically just a texture property, and so you have specular maps and normal maps, and you can have gloss or shine on different mesh objects. And if you don't have this enabled, a lot of that doesn't even show up. So your clothing or whatever the objects you're looking at are just they just kind of look plain Jane. So this adds a lot of more 3D effects and so forth to the clothing as well as different mesh, even furniture and different objects in world. Let me know if I'm going too fast for you guys. And if you guys do have any questions, you can try to type them in chat. I'll keep an eye on that. But at the end, we can also have a question and answer session as well. So I was talking about the quality and speed. This is one of the most important settings for me, anyways. You want to try to get it as close to ultra as possible. But one thing you want to keep in mind is the higher quality you make it, the lower the performance will be because, of course, you'll be lagging more. The computer will be so slower. So if you don't have a very high-end computer, you want to keep your settings on low and only turn them up to wherever you can get them without crashing when you're ready, when you're completely ready to take your photograph. So those are the two really important things. The other things like draw distance, um, and all these, they also help out. So I'm going to quickly go through some of these um, some of these little options here, but they're not that important because I think once you hit that ultra, a lot of them automatically just go max and turn on by themselves. But in case they don't, you want to make sure that you have a lot of these checked because without the transparent water, if you're taking pictures anywhere near water, the water will look opaque. Um, Yes, thank you for sharing the live stream in World. The water will look opaque and it actually won't have the ripples and the water effect that this transparent water option will give it. Bump and shiny enables the rendering of shiny and bump map surfaces. That's another part of materials. Local lights are good if you're going to a sim that is kind of has atmospheric lighting. So you want to have that enabled to, kind of get the whole effect of it. Or if you don't want, if you want to, you want to be able to manage your own lighting using wind light, you can turn it off. You don't. Sometimes I turn off local lights if some sims have like very drastic bright lighting, and that kind of washes out the picture. So sometimes I turn it off. But it's good to have if you're going for the atmospheric. Now, basic shaders, it allows rendering of high quality water and lighting and so forth. So if you turn off basic shaders, you're going to lose a lot of the other options are going to be grayed out. Now you'll notice right away now that since I've turned off basic shaders, I'm really lagging right now because there's a lot of people on the sim. So I don't want to move my camera around too much, but you saw the difference in the audience, in the clothing and the texture. If you're watching my live stream as well, you saw the difference when you turn basic shaders off. You can see that on your own screen as well. So basic shaders really adds a lot to the. Now you see all the shine and everything, and it also allows you to use the other settings that get grayed out. Same thing with atmospheric shaders. They're more about the lighting and so forth. I already talked about the advanced lighting model. Now the ambient occlusion, checking this enables more realistic shadows. I like to keep it on for shadows. Some people, I know they say it messes up their shadows, but to me it makes the shadows look smoother. So I always like to keep that on. And when you're using shadows, you want to make sure you're using sun, moon, and plus projectors. I don't know if you guys have used projectors. They're very easy to use. You can make your own. And if I'm able to res, I think I am able to res here, but I don't know if I'll be able to because it's pretty laggy right now. But I'll try to show you how to make a projector really quickly. It's very easy to do that in a bit. Particle count, I tend to keep that off most of the time. These days, I was using it for some mission amount, so I had that up. But particles are, things floating around, and it's good if you're going somewhere again on a sim that has different particles floating around, so you kind of get the whole atmosphere there. So you can keep that on or off. If you don't need it for your picture, you can turn it off. It doesn't really affect lag as much as people say it does, for me anyways. But yeah, that's another option that you can have. Complexity is it's a new thing. It's I think they introduced that a couple of years ago, and Basically, what it controls is at what point a visually complex avatar is shown. So if I were to, I have my maximum complexity at no limit. So I'm also pretty laggy right now. If I were to turn that down, a lot of you will turn into jelly dolls. Um, so I think majority of you turn into jelly dolls because we're wearing items that have a lot of complex mesh. I don't know what you call it. I'm not a very technical person, but uh, but it increases your complexity, and then makes you harder to load. But since I've made a lot of you jelly dolls, now you see I'm not as laggy anymore, and I'm moving my camera around a lot more easier. So if you go somewhere where there's a lot of people and you don't need to res everybody, then you can reduce your complexity to help your lag. But if you're trying to shoot, if you're trying to take a picture of somebody and they're not showing up properly, then you know that you have to increase your complexity. I usually keep it on no limit because I'm kind of a rebel, but you should really keep that a little bit lower. I think these days they're saying when you're trying to dress yourself up, you want to make sure that um, your complexity is not way over 100,000. But sometimes I go over that, especially when I'm riding my horse, my bento horse. But yeah, I think usually I think most people I've seen have been around the 70 to 90 complexity, which is a good limit to be at. So after that, though, that's the biggest part of making yourself lag less, reducing your graphics and reducing your maximum complexity. Yeah, Winter, I'm gonna have to do that. And remember to always have to set you set you to always render. Actually I didn't know you could do that, to be honest. Now I'm gonna have to figure. I think you right click on the person and you can have them set to always render, so it doesn't matter what their complexity is. Okay, so that was the maximum complexity. Next is post-process quality. All these things. Avatar physics is when if someone is wearing a physics layer and their body parts are jiggling around. So that doesn't really affect photography, but it does affect machinima. So if you want that to show up, you want that turned on. But for photography, you can turn it off. Post-process quality, you want to keep that on high. All of this stuff will probably automatically go on high, um, and as soon as you try to raise um, your quality and speed over here. So I wanted to show you just one more thing in the hardware settings. Oh yes, so once you've, before we switch over to the next tab, you want to make sure you have hardware skinning and avatar cloth on as well, because you want to make sure you render that, and the terrain I like to keep on high as well. So once you've have your settings all set, you want to remember I was talking about saving presets. You want to hit save down here, and then you can call this your photography preset. So that way you don't have to go in and mess with the settings every time. Whenever you're ready to take a picture, you're like, okay, so there's my photography preset, and you can switch to that easily, and just take your picture and then switch back to default where you keep it on low and so forth. So they made that a little bit easier for easier for us. And of course, if you save a preset, you can also go back and delete it. Now, in hardware settings, there's a few things that I wanted to point out. This anisotropic filtering. Basically, what that does is it improves texture quality. So it's definitely going to reduce your performance, your viewer's performance, but it does also help with the textures. I haven't noticed a huge difference, but some people have told me that it does make a big difference. So I do keep that on. And anti-aliasing, I think they tell you to keep it from 2x to 4x. I think this is just the default, so I just kind of leave it there. And there's some other options in there. I don't normally mess with this stuff, but you can read more about it. I'm going to have links to all of this in my blog post as well, for the Firestorm. Firestorm has very detailed settings. Depth of field is something I'm going to talk about when we get into photo tools, but this is where you can turn on depth of field, and I'll explain what that is when I get to that, and how you can also mess with it using photo tools. But I believe in the if you're using the second live viewer, you won't be seeing the settings this way. I think they should show you a little bit in the second live viewer, and then you hit advanced settings, and then you're able to get into the advanced section. Yeah, anti-aliasing it does take the jagged edges away. So that's why they suggest to keep it from 2 to 4x. So I usually keep it on 2. I don't think I've ever been up to 4x, not for a while anyways. But yeah, definitely you want to at least keep it on 2x. You don't want to disable that. You use 16. Oh wow. Okay. I haven't really used 16 before, but I don't know if that causes extra lag. Um, does it cause you extra lag? No. Okay. Well, maybe I'll try it on 16 to see if that helps. I haven't really had too much of a problem with jagged edges. Not for years anyways. But so this was the graphic settings. So you want to make sure you have that set before you start doing anything else, and when you're taking a picture. And after that, I'm going to talk about Photoshop, not Photoshop, Photo Tools and Winlight, because that's the next step to photography. Once you've got your graphic settings set, you want to look at the lighting. Basically, for Second Life Viewer, I believe you go to World and you can go to Environment Editor and Sky Presets, and then you can start a new one or you can edit a one. And I think it opens up a limited Winlight settings window. For Firestorm, we have Photo Tools, which is a great set of tools for us. That was created by William Weaver, and he's made it so much easier. And I'm going to explain that in detail right now. So to get to Photo Tools, I have it in my little tabs over here. But if you don't have that accessible and ready to go, you just go to World, and you go to Photo and Video, and you go to Photo Tools, and that's how you get it. So Winlight is a atmospheric lighting and rendering system within Second Life, and that assists photographers to create stunning visuals, and it lets us control also not only the time of day, but the lighting, the colors, everything. So it really lets us customize our images the way we want to, our whole Second Life experience the way we want. So but the photo tools, basically, what that is a combination of different tools that have been combined into one little photo tools menu. So it's all at our fingertips. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to just quickly talk about the first page of photo tools. One second. I'm just trying to open up my window here. So some of these settings you're going to see in that we already saw in the graphics settings when we were talking about in the preferences. And so we have basic shaders on over here. We have atmospheric shaders. So those are all the basic shaders and the advanced tools and all that. They're all over here as well. Again, if we turn that off, we're going to have everybody looking very, not very shiny and pretty. Oh, it looks like I'm about to crash. So you want to make sure all of this is turned on again. If you forgot to do it in the graphics setting, I think I'm about to crash. No, we're good. All right. So we always want to make sure that the basic shaders are always left on. It even says leave on. Okay. The atmosphere shaders enables full Winlight features. So you're able to access every part of Winlight, and you want to always have that enabled as well. There's my kitten asking me for attention. Sorry about that. Now my region wind light, the region wind light is the wind light that's on the region right now. Whatever the default region wind light is on this Cultivate sim is what we see right now. If you can uncheck that, and it'll go to the last wind light you used, which was, I think, this one. I was using it yesterday when I was recording. You can also change your wind light just by this drop down menu over here. And I have some preloaded wind lights from ahead of time, which I've downloaded and I've uploaded, and I use them often. But most of the time what I do is I create my own wind light for every situation. Except for when I'm shooting, I usually use my headshots wind light, which I think you can download from my blog. So you can choose a wind light over here. You can choose a different water. And you can also choose a day cycle and so forth here. And this is like a quick access to Winlight where you can change. You can't really see what I'm doing, so I'm just going to cam out over here. So if you're watching the live stream as well. But you want to go outside the building if you're going to be playing with the Winlight. So you can, this is kind of, this gives you the options to play around with the sun and the moon, the timings of the day over here. But I don't. I suggest instead of doing it just over here, you want to click on New Sky Preset. That way you can mess with the preset and you can make it your own. First, I'm just going to kind of pick a different. I'm going to just go to midday, just the standard midday, if I can find it. Okay. So if you go to midday and you look outside this building, you're going to see the blue sky and the clouds and all of that. So if you hit New Sky Preset, you get this little window coming up. So in this New Sky Preset, what you can do is you can play with the whole atmosphere. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more just so you guys can see it all. So in this area, you have all these options to play with. I'm kind of watching all different chat tools, so I'm kind of getting a little confused, but I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing any questions or anything. So the first option we have in the new sky preset is the blue horizon. So this is the color of the sky basically. So if you click on that, and you are able to change the color of the sky to any color you want. So if you want to go for a more moody moody look or anything like that, you can go crazy. The higher you go over here, the lighter the sky will be, and of course, the lower you go, the darker the sky will be. So you can really control the sky and how you want it. You can really adjust it to your own liking. Same thing with the blue density. You want to click on that, and what that does, it is what it does. Sorry, somebody's talking to me. One second. Okay. So it affects the overall color saturation of the sky as well. So this also helps you adjust the sky, and it also helps you with the fog. I don't know if you can see that it adds a little bit of fog as well. But if you want to go add some fog, we have some haze horizon. So this haze horizon, if you play with this, it adds haze starting from the bottom up. So the higher you make it, the more haze is added. I'm gonna see if I can show you. I don't know if you guys are also watching the live stream in World. Which are good wind lights to use? Honestly, it really depends on what situation you are in. There are a lot of studio wind lights that people use. I know there's some great ones from Anand Adored, and I have a few on my blog. I wouldn't suggest using Torleys for studios because they're very dramatic wind lights. He has their very colorful wind lights. But for when you're on location somewhere, then you can use Torleys or different. Let's see, I'm trying to think. And Anna Dord also has some great on location wind light. So I think it really depends on the situation that you're in and what kind of photo you're trying to capture. So I mean, and also you can also adjust the wind lights to your liking, right? So it's not like there's no one universal perfect wind light for all situations. Sure, you can use one that's very bright all the time, but I think in different photos you want to go for different ideas, different lightings, different looks for sure. So um, I have a few suggestions. If you want to message me later, I can suggest a few ones that I like that are my favorites, and I can link those to you. I have a bunch of them on my blog as well. But I think it all really depends on each situation. And again, like I said, you can edit any wind light. So if I started with midday, but you could have chosen any different wind light, anything that was close enough to what you were looking for. And then what you would do is you would go and play around with the settings. So this is the haze horizon. And this is the haze density. And this also adds a lot of fog to your picture. So you can see that if you want the more smoky, foggy morning kind of effect, you can add some of that over there. This is the density multiplier. It affects the overall atmospheric density. So it creates a feeling of like thin air at higher settings, and it creates a very heavy smoggy effect. So a lot of these you can use to create that smoggy effect if you're doing a picture in the forest and it's the morning time and you want like a heavy look or something like that, then you definitely want to play around with these settings. The distance multiplier over here, it adjusts the viewer's perceived distance. Now you got to be careful because if you go high, really high, you just kind of wash out the whole scene. So with this, you got to watch with the numbers. I usually keep it only on like 0.5 or something. a lot of the times. And of course, the max altitude adjusts the altitude calculations. Um, and so again, you also want to watch that. You can if you increase that, it kind of darkens where you are, and if you decrease it, it adds more light because of the altitude. So I always usually keep it a lot of these two low in the lower area, but these ones I mess around with a lot depending on the situation. Next, we're going into the sun moon color. You can also adjust the color of the. I'm going to reduce the haze so you guys can see the sky properly. So this is the you can adjust the color of the direct light and the intensity of the direct light. So first, if you're I'm trying to look at too many chat areas. But first, you can pick the color that you want the light to be, and then you can make it lighter or darker. So usually you want to go for a more neutral light. I usually stay on the grays sometimes, unless I'm going for a very drastic look. Sometimes you want to just stick with a nice light blue. And if you want to make it a little bit lighter, you can go higher or lower. So that's the color of the sun, and remember to press OK when you've got your color. Don't just cancel out of there. Make sure you press OK. And then the ambient is to adjust the color and intensity of the ambient atmospheric light. So same idea, except that it's more light overall. You can see the light on the buildings over here changing color as well. And it really adds a lot of shine as well. I've noticed if you have materials, it really helps to bounce the colors off of there. But yeah, you can really experiment with these colors. Don't be afraid to get in there and play with the sliders and all that. So next we have the sun glow focus. The focus controls how blurred the sun is over the sky. So if you go crazy, if you lower that, it kind of gets really bright, and the higher it is, it should kind of more neutral. I don't know. I think I usually keep it in the middle, but I think it also depends on the SL Viewer doesn't have this feature. Yeah, I think this is all photo tools. SL Viewer probably does have these features, but they're probably in the debug settings, and we don't have easier access to them. Photo tools are just great because all of those settings that were in the debug settings are all brought to here, in one little window for us to play with. But yeah, I highly suggest Firestorm if you guys are able to use it. I know some people have issues with Firestorm, how it works for them on their computer. I don't seem to have any of those issues. But if it works great for you, and if you really want to get into photography, I really suggest using Firestorm for the photo tools menu alone. I know there are other viewers like Black Dragon and such that people talk about that are great for photography. I haven't tried them. Maybe I'll give it a try sometime, but for now I'm pretty happy with Photo Tools and all of the options that it offers. So I was on the Scene Gamma size over here. Um, yeah, the sun glow. I did the sun glow focus. So now we're on the size over here, the sun glow size. And basically what that does is controls the size of the sun, which I don't think we can see right now. Um, so next I'm going to talk about is the star bright. I don't like to particularly use the stars in Second Life because I feel like they look very strange. And of course you want to use them when it's nighttime, but even at nighttime they kind of just look like, I don't know, weird circles in the sky. So I think it really depends on the windlight. I haven't really seen a windlight where the stars would look really fantastic, but sometimes to give it that nice effect, like starry sky, if you're using like a midnight windlight, then it might look decent. So I usually keep it off, but you can play with it to see if you like it. And then the gamma, of course, what it does is it adjusts the distribution of light and dark. So the lower gamma values have higher contrast. I keep the gamma also very low because when you go high, it's just going to wash everything out. But if you just want to add a little bit of brightness, then the gamma helps a lot. But you want to be careful with that because you don't want to wash yourself out there. So next thing I want to, okay, again, this is down here was the same one over here. It's the time of day, so you can choose, you can play around with the time of day. We were at 12 p.m. right now, and the sun was directly on us, but you can adjust that to where you want the sun. I also like to change the angle of the sun. So a lot of times people ask, how do you get um, your shadows right underneath your chin when I'm doing so I'm gonna just cam in on Winter over here. I don't know if you guys are watching the live stream, but they ask, how do you get your shadows right underneath your skin? I'm not going to actually be able to get shadows in here. I just realized in the building. But when you're looking to, Winter's like, what are you doing? I'm gonna first pick a different one light and see if that helps. But No, it'll work, I think. The shadows won't work inside the building, but you want to play with the sun moon angle, and you can see right now it's kind of affecting. No, you can't because I'm inside the building, but it's not it's not gonna work. But you want it when you if you want the shadow to come under the chin, you want to play with this angle, and you want to also play with the time of day to move the shadows around to where you like it, and that's when you get to. I'm lagging now, just a second. Yeah, I should de-render the building, Molly. No, I'm not going to de-render the building, but that's how you can get shadows. But yeah, I mean, if you're trying to get shadows and you're inside a building and you're using Firestorm, one way to do that is just go right click on the building more, and then you can de-render it, and then you'll be able to get shadows. Or you can use a light source, like I was telling you earlier. If you make, you can. I don't know if I can build here. Let me see. If you click on the build menu, and I'm just gonna see if I can res a light source here. Can I res here? I don't know if I can. No, I can't res here. Okay, that's all right. Okay, so basically what you can res a light source if you're able to res somewhere, and then you can when you res an object, you can turn, if you go into the features tab, you can turn on this light over here. I can bury, I don't know, it's not resing. It's okay, it's not a big deal. I just wanted to quickly show that if you res an object, you can turn on the light over here, and that will make it kind of like a projector, and then you can change the color of it, you can add texture to it, and you can play with the projectors and add lighting inside a building, and then use that for um, uh, for uh, casting shadows and so forth. So that's another way to cast shadows if you're inside a building. So this is the whole atmosphere and sun tab of the sky preset. And then the clouds are pretty easy. I'm gonna just cam outside again. Hopefully I won't crash. And I'm gonna go back to midday, just so I can I just wanted to show you guys really quickly the how to mess with the clouds. So the cloud color over here lets you choose whatever color you want to make your clouds. So you can make them white, you can make them dark, you can make them pink, any color that you want. And usually I keep them on white, but I don't like them like crazy white, a little bit grayish. And then that's the color. And then you can choose the density over here. What it does, it makes them look more realistic. So this one, you can move them around, and you'll see they'll be moving, they'll be changing locations, moving around a little bit. But if you increase I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place because I'm trying to keep track of all the chatting going on. Yes, this will be available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel later. I am live streaming it, and then it will, you're my density, right, Molly? And then it will automatically upload to my YouTube channel. Do you guys, can you guys hear me? Sorry, can you guys still hear me? I don't know if I have my voice. Okay, I wonder how long you guys lost me. Okay, I don't know if you guys were listening to me this whole time now, but I just showed you how to change the color of the clouds. You can change the direction of the clouds and the density of the clouds. You can change how much of the cloud coverage you want and their scale. And so if you play around with the clouds, so this is like it covers more of the sky, but they kind of don't look natural. So you want to play with the scale a lot to make them look a little bit more natural. You can There's, sorry, so many people are I have to retoggle my voice. Can you guys hear me? You can't hear me? Hello? You can, okay. Okay, you guys. I'm getting a little distracted because of all this. Okay, great. And the people in the live stream can hear me as well? Okay, great. So everybody hears me. Great. So I don't know where I am now, but basically you just play with the sliders. Don't be afraid to get in there and play with them. The cloud detail is also very important because you want to make it look as natural as possible. And I really feel like these clouds are a little bit too light, and you can really change the color. And also, one thing that I've noticed, if you go to different sims, people have different kinds of clouds, more complex clouds, and I believe those are the ones that they've uploaded with textures and so forth. I'm not sure how that works. That's something that I've always wanted to look into. So if you go on those sims, you can actually save that win light and use it and create a new one and so forth. But yeah, that's how the clouds work. This is why Photo Tools is great because it gives you options right at your fingertips. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover for photo tools and win light settings. I hope I didn't go too fast for you guys. Actually, I didn't cover everything. One more thing I wanted to show you. So this was the win light tab that I showed first. Second part is the light tab in Photo Tools. We're back at Photo Tools again. To get to there, you want to go to World and Photo Video and Photo Tools. So again, like I said before, you want to make sure you have the advanced lighting model enabled. You want to enable all local lights if you're looking for if you're on a sim that has atmospheric lights and you want to use them. You might want to disable attached face lights that people wear because that can mess up your pictures. Unless you're wearing a face light yourself or somebody else is wearing a face light that's adding to it. So you have that option right there because a lot of people wear very bright face lights because they have, a lot of times they don't have a very powerful computer, so they can't get the graphics and the lighting as high as they would like, so that the extra win lights help them to make their avatars to them look better. So if you can disable that if you want. Luckily right now nobody's wearing a crazy face light because sometimes they're crazy bright. A little bit of light is okay because it kind of makes you stand out a little bit more. But this so far right now I don't see anybody wearing crazy lights. Now this section you want to play with the shadow resolution, but don't want to go above 1 on this because if you go above 1, you're really gonna lag and things are going to be a lot slower. So you really want to keep it below 1 most of the time, and then when you're taking a picture and you want to experiment a little bit more, you can raise it. But I normally just keep it, I think, at 88, and sometimes I punch it up a little bit. So you want to make sure that's there. Now, shadow clarity is what's going to help you once you're all set in your pose and everything, and you're about to take your picture. You want to play with this slider to improve the look of your shadows, and and sorry, somebody was asking me a question. Okay, never mind. So this is this shadow clarity button slider to me is really important. This is the one I always mess around with in every photograph. Right before I hit that snapshot button, I play around with the slider to make sure the shadows look as crisp as possible. Because sometimes you have fading shadows and double edge shadows and so forth. So you want to make sure you play with this until your shadow is as crisp as possible. You guys can play with it right now. I can't zoom in on a person or something right now because of the lag and because we're inside. Where is that option to save camera position? Oh yeah, the save camera position is in the Photo Tools camera. Somebody's asking me in the live stream how you save your camera position. If you open the camera tools in Photo Tools, this button lets you save. Like say I click it right now, and then I move my camera over a little bit, then I'll click this one and it'll take me back to the exact position I was at before. Actually, it didn't do that. I don't know why. That's how it works normally. The camera tools, how do I get to camera tools? I believe it's in I think it's in photo and yeah, so you go to world photo and video and then you click on camera tools and then you get that uh, the window that I had opened up and you can and this is it's supposed to store your current camera view and then if you accidentally change your thing and then you want to go back to the old view, this should take you back to where you were. Yeah, okay. It's kind of working now. But yeah, that's how you um, save your camera tools. Okay. I'm trying to watch the chats all over the place. So sorry, I kind of sidetracked there. And then of course the shadow blurring, you want to play around with that as well. It makes your shadow less intense. It kind of blurs it out and faded and makes it look little bit more natural. Same thing with shadow. I always keep this on max, shadow soften, blur distance. All of these you can play around with them. It will help the look of your shadow. The shadow bias is really important because I don't know if you guys noticed that sometimes when you're standing there, the shadows, if you're looking at your feet, the shadows don't start right at your feet. They start a little bit further away if you're completely standing on the ground. So what you want to do is you want to move the shadow bias all the way to the right, I believe, and that's going to make sure that it's right at your feet. Um, so it's I hope I'm making sense here. But yeah, that helps you start right where you're standing or wherever the object is, and it goes from there. If you move the bias down a little bit, the shadows start a little bit further away. But yeah, so that should help you with that. This is for ambient inclusion. You can play with this. I normally don't play a lot with this. You can copy my settings if you don't have them here, if that helps. But this is where I normally keep it. I'm sorry, I think I just touched my microphone. And the last setting I wanted to talk about was depth of field. Now, depth of field, I don't use it too often because of the alpha issues and so forth in SL with hair and different things. So if I were to turn on the depth of field, I'm afraid that I might crash because of the lag right now. But let's turn that on. Now, what depth of field is basically, what it does is it simulates real life blurring that occurs when things are not in focus. So right now, let's say I'm going to focus on the back of my hair, right? So and if I turn on the enable the depth of field, what it's essentially doing is keeping me in focus, but everything else around me is going to look a little bit blurry because like at a distance. And I can control that blur in Photo Tools. I believe in the second live viewer, you can't control the depth of field at all. But if you look at this, the sorry, somebody was asking me a question. Okay, so okay, first you don't want to mess with the view angle. I use my own view angle is basically what you're seeing. It's like a zoom feature. I don't mess with that. If I want to zoom into myself, I use Control 0 and that zooms in, or I just use my mouse as well. But Control 0 will help you get rid of that fisheye effect. And if you want to go back to your regular camera view, you press Control 9. Okay, so if I want to zoom, I don't use the view angle, I use Control 0, and then I can mess with this field of view slider, and that will increase the blurriness. Now, you see when I said it with the alpha issues with the hair, it's you're gonna have to Photoshop that or do something, but sorry, a lot of questions. So your graphics usually have to be, I believe, on at least on high, or I always have it on ultra. I don't know how high they have to be in order for you to use depth of field. So basically, I'm focused on myself right now. So let's say I click on winter. So what's going to happen is everything else is going to become blurry. I've become blurry, and winter is focused now. So that's how depth of field works. So whatever you're focused on, that's what the camera is focused on, and that's what's going to be sharp and viewable to you. But because of the alpha issues with hair and clothing and such like that, I don't often use depth of field, and a lot of times I just Photoshop it in myself. I believe I've seen in the Black Dragon viewer they have um, extra options for depth of field to fix this alpha issue. And again, I haven't played with it, so if somebody knows more about it, they can let us know. But I haven't experienced it or tested it out myself. But for Firestorm, this is pretty much the best you can do. You can play with all these different sliders, and what it does is it makes it blurry and less blurry and so forth. But when you're taking an image using depth of field, because when you're taking a high resolution image, because what you're doing is you're taking multiple sizes of your screen, everything becomes sharper. So depth of field will not show up in your image, in your snapshot, the way it looks like on my screen right now. Because right now you see the resolution on my screen, but when you take the picture, it won't be this blurry. It'll be a lot less blurry. It won't, might not even look like depth of field was on. So that's one thing you have to take into account when you're using depth of field, because when you want to take a high resolution snapshot using the depth of field, you really want to change the field of view. You want to make it really high, even though even you are looking crazy blurry. But when you hit that snapshot button and you take a high resolution image, then then you'll see that, okay, it's a little bit sharper. So depth of field is very tricky if you want to use it in SL, and I don't normally suggest people use it. Maybe for machinima, it'll come in, it'll work well, right? But for photography, and if you're post processing already, using it, photoshopping it in, tends to work a lot easier, because then right now I would have to Photoshop all these bits around my hair and so forth. Yeah, that's how depth of field works. And unfortunately, in the Second Life viewer, I don't believe there is a way to edit the depth of field. Yeah, you can do depth of field in Photoshop. You just basically bring the picture into Photoshop and just blur. There's different tricks depending on, you can use masking and blur the background. Sometimes you can just take the blur thing and just blur around wherever you want. But it really, there's different ways to add depth of field in uh, in Photoshop as well. So that was the photo tools menu. We're getting there, guys. I feel like I'm taking forever. So I'm just going to close that out. And the last thing I wanted to talk about before we get into my computer specs and so forth, was the snapshots window. So to get to the snapshot, to take a picture, now you've got your graphic settings all set, you got your lighting all set, and you want to take a picture. So you press Control, Shift, and S, and that brings up the snapshots menu. Or if you don't want to do that, I believe in the Second Life viewer, it's World Snapshot. But in the Firestorm viewer, it's avatar and snapshot. Okay. And when you first open up the snapshot window, you get a choice of how you want to save. You can save to inventory, upload to your profile, or to your various social networks. I normally don't post to my various social networks directly, because I want to post-process my image a little bit. The only time I save it anywhere else is I usually upload it to my profile feed just for fun, just to let people who are visiting my profile feed know what I'm blogging about today, or where I am, or taking it, or where I'm, like right now, if I were to take a picture, I could include and upload it to my profile feed. I could include the location of where I'm standing. I can include some text, and then if I hit post, it's going to go directly to my profile feed, and it'll be a raw shot. So I upload to my profile feed just sometimes if I want to do that, but most of the time I want to save to disk, because what you want is you want a very high resolution image, and you want to be able to take it into Photoshop and oh, I think I'm going to crash. Okay, you want to be able to take it into Photoshop and mess with it, or GIMP, or whatever photo editing software you use. So you click on Save to Disk. Now that you have a few options, I believe the Second Life viewer has these exact same options, so it should look very similar to this. So the first thing is you can play with the colors. Of course, we want to have it set on colors so you get what you're actually looking at. If you set it on depth, now people take pictures like this, and this is to help you for post-processing depth of field into your image. So you can use this if you want to Photoshop that. I don't really use that ever. I kind of do it my own way, but this is a great option if you want to post-process depth of field and so forth. So you want to stick with colors, and if for some reason you want to include your interface or your HUDs or your Linden balance and so forth, if you want to, if you're doing a tutorial and you want to show your HUDs or something, you can enable that. But most of the time when you're taking an image, you don't want any of that stuff in your image at all. You just want whatever you're taking a picture of. Freeze frame I used to use a lot. I don't anymore because it started giving me some problems and crashing and so forth. But if you click on freeze frame, it kind of freezes whatever the frame is, and then you can move it around, and then it goes back to the exact frame that you were at before. So I don't know if that's helpful to anybody, but the freeze frame option is there. If you click on auto refresh, it's going to make you lag a little bit because it's going to keep refreshing the window before you hit the save. So I don't keep that enabled. And then of course they have some filtering options in here. Now this is, if you use these, you don't even have to post process. A lot of times it kind of give you different effects. It messes with your colors. It's like, you're using Photoshop filters or something like that, or any kind of photo editing filters. So this helps with that. So you can play around with these. I normally don't. I like to post process my own way. These days I haven't been post processing my pictures much at all because I've gotten into just doing videos, and just, I don't know, I've kind of lost interest in photoshopping as much as I used to. So I stick to just trying to keep it as raw and simple as possible. And then when we get to the good part, and that's saving the image, you want to make sure you go into custom, because you can save these pre-save resolutions, but what you want to do is you want to actually go into custom and you want to save it at the highest possible resolution. I think right now for me, the highest I can go is 16 by 3315. The higher that you go, and you want to actually make sure you have constraint proportions check. If you don't have constraint proportions check, what it's gonna do is it's gonna mess with your aspect ratio. If you're uploading it to some other site or something, I've noticed that it's gonna mess things up. So what you really want to do is you want to have this constraint proportions check, and you just want to make sure that this is, you just click the first one and this one will go automatically, so the proportions will always be perfect. And then after you've saved it, you can take it into Photoshop or whatever photo editing program you use, and over there you would crop and resize and save, and that will give you more options. It'll capture as much of your screen as possible. If you don't constrain proportions and you decide to do some, smaller number, you're going to probably get a square image, and you don't really want to do that. You want a high definition, high resolution image. So you want to constrain proportions. A lot of people can't take a picture this high or they'll crash. Doesn't matter. Go as high as you can. If you can only go up to 5,000, that's fine. If you can only go up to 4,000, that's fine. Sometimes people told me back in the day when we had these issues with photography where you would get these lines on your pictures. I don't know if you remember those. Oh, it was horrible. Then you have to Photoshop those out. It was just horrible. Back in those days, I used to go by this thing that somebody told me where you save multiples of your screen resolution. So I would do it, whatever my screen resolution is, if it's like 1980 by whatever, then I would multiply that by 3. PTSD, which seriously, those lines were horrible. But you would multiply by 3, you would multiply by 2, and then you could save it as that, and that would help decrease the lines. These days, there's no glitches, there's no issues in snapshots. Um, so I just save it as big as possible, and that's what you should do too. So you have as big an image as possible that you can play around with, that you can resize. Because remember, when you take it into Photoshop and you resize it, it's going to be sharper and crisper looking if you started off with a bigger size. So go as high as you can. If you can only go up to 4,000, if you can only go up to 3,000, no problem. What is the biggest? I'm not sure what is the biggest for other people. The biggest for me is 60 by 16. Uh, How can we avoid banding? To be honest, I don't think there is a way to completely avoid banding. I've noticed it if I'm using a solid color background, especially if I post process in Photoshop. You'll get these lines, these different colors, and it's hard to avoid that. And I don't think that's something that you can avoid within SL. But if you are processing, if you're using something photo editor, if you can add noise to the background or to the image, that will help the color banding and make it look less, distorted or whatever you want to call it. So adding a little bit of noise to the image using Photoshop or GIMP or whatever, I think even PicMonkey.com lets you add noise. That will get rid of the banding a little bit. But as far as I know, it's hard to avoid banding while taking Second Life pictures in world anyways. So once you've got that a high resolution set, constraint proportions, you want to save it as a PNG. This is what I recommend. I don't recommend JPEG because JPEG will make your will decrease the resolution, it will decrease the quality of the image. You can save it as a BMP. It is the same as PNG except that it's like 100 times bigger in size. It's like massive. It's like a very raw image, and it's just a really massive size. So I save it as PNG because it's the same quality as BMP as far as I can tell. I don't see a different quality, but it's a more decent file size to play with. And that's it. And then you hit save. You can hit save as or save. So when you hit save, then it'll give you, if the first time you're saving it, it'll give you, ask you where you want to save it. I have a folder and I keep all my snapshots in there. And that's it. And you just hit save and it'll save to disk. And there we go. And that should give you a very high quality, high resolution image. And then you can take it into your photo editor and go crazy with it. And then that's where you crop it and resize it. And then you can upload it to your social media. And that's the way I do it. And I think that's one of the best ways to do it. And then I want to talk about computer specifications. Now, I know people often ask me what kind of computer that I have. I have actually a custom built computer that someone made built for me. I purchased parts from Amazon and different online sites, and they assembled the computer for me. The video card that people always ask me what I have is an Asus GTX 970, and the memory I have is 16 gig. And I believe Linden Lab recommends at least 4 gig. So that the memory is what's going to help you with lagging and all that stuff. And that's it. And I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about today. So now we can take some time for, how long did I take? I took about an hour. Not bad. Hope I didn't put everybody to sleep. So we can you type or put it in no card about the specs? Actually, I have all my specs in my listed on my computer on my website. Let me actually link that in chat so you can see. Just gonna grab that. Thank you, John. I've already taken an hour. Hopefully I didn't put everybody to sleep. So I'm gonna try and watch both the live stream and the chat. And if you guys have any questions, I don't know if anybody wants to go on voice and ask a question, that's fine too. If you want to just type it, I can type it. Yeah, I'm open for questions now. I hope you guys found it informative and I hope you learned something today, even though a lot of it was just basic stuff. There will be a recorded copy of the video. Yes, there will be. It will be on my YouTube channel, and I'll link to that one. Thank you, everybody. I think that's my YouTube channel, I hope. I'm trying to. Thank you, guys. So I'm trying to see what's one photography tip that can completely transform an image. Somebody was asking me in live chat, what's one photography tip that can completely transform an image? I believe it's wind light. Playing with wind light, playing with the lighting is really, and playing and setting the lighting to um, what the situation that you're in, whatever image. If you're in studio, if you're in studio, or if you're in a forest, or if you're in a field or something, you want to match the lighting to where you're at, what you're wearing, and that really can help a lot with the image. And I think everything I covered is really important. The graphic settings, the wind lighting, and all that stuff. But the lighting especially can really transform your image. Yeah, I enjoy doing I enjoy seeing darker pictures. I'm not very good at darker pictures myself. I usually do very bright kind of studio, very basic kind of instructional type pictures. But yeah, I love seeing darker images that are kind of scary and creepy. And okay, what is important to make good quality picture? The graphic card or like the whole specs? I think graphic card is very important. It's probably one of the most important um, to help with, the quality of the image. Again, I'm not very familiar with hardware. I didn't like my computer was made for me. Somebody told me, okay, these are the parts that you should get. So I'm not familiar with hardware, but I do believe that the graphic card is what makes a difference, and that's what's made a difference for me in the past. Improving my computer, just changing on my video card alone made a world of difference. So um, I definitely. Yeah, sure. People are asking if they can send me a picture to see. Feel free to do that. Yeah, using projectors really helps, especially if you're trying to show materials in a dress or in an object or something. Using projector lights really helps with that. Really helps materials stand out, all the bumps and the shines and all that. Feel like I'm gonna crash. Okay, my bratty best friend is asking if one wished to take multiple pictures of their butt and perhaps even make an album of these on Flickr. What do you recommend as the best lighting? I would recommend Strawberry Sing headshots. That's the one I normally use. Can we take you home? Sure. I'd love to visit people's homes because I suck at decorating homes in Excel. So I would love to see people's homes. What do you recommend for LOD settings? Oh, okay. Yes, I didn't talk about LOD, and I'm sure the Firestorm people will get really mad at me once they find out what I keep my LOD at. But I keep mine at 14, and I think they recommend like 7 or 8. Um, I don't know why I keep mine at 14, to be honest. Okay, something is being rezzed here. Yeah, I don't know why. You don't need to keep it that high. I think I just set it at 14 because 14 is my lucky number, and I just kind of went, okay, we're gonna do that. John, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if this is somebody. Um, I don't know if you guys see this big orange thing. Somebody has attached something to themselves. Where can we find on your blog the Strawberry Singwin lights? Okay, let me link those. I think if you just Google Strawberry Singwin lights, it's like the first link. But let me see. I think it's just under my tutorials page. Oh, we have a griefer. Fun times. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out because they're showing um, dirty pictures. There we go. So I've de-rendered them, but anyways, um, just trying not to lag so much. Okay, thank you, Melinda. So I don't know if anybody has any more questions. I think, did I link my Winlight settings? Yeah, let me link them again, just in case it got missed with all the trolling. It's okay, trolls happen. I was expecting a lot more, especially in the live chat. I have a few people that like to troll a lot, and it's fine. It's kind of entertaining at the same time. Can you tell us roughly how long it takes you to finalize a photo from beginning to end? To be honest, these days it doesn't take me very long because I've had a lot of changes in my life recently. I got married, I've moved house, I've got a new job this year. I have a lot of stuff going on in real life, so my second lifetime is cut a lot in time. So you'll see me online maybe, but I'm usually not at my computer. Sometimes I leave my laptop logged in and I forget. But when I'm blogging, I usually try to, I have like this is my morning timer when I have a couple of hours to myself before my work gets really crazy. So usually about 2 hours, I try to get whatever I want to blog that day, and style it quickly. If I needed to make a video, try to make a video really quick. When I'm doing the unboxing videos, it takes me a while, but I try to get all of that done within 2 hours. So that includes the styling, the video, the picture. These days I'm not processing that much. I might just add a little bit of dodge and burn here, crop, resize quickly, and then I put it up. You could probably tell with my images these days, they're more instructional. I used to do a lot more photoshopping and more creativity in my pictures before, but these days I don't know, I guess I'm more into making videos these days and not so much into photoshopping and getting more creative in photography. I'm kind of enjoying the instructional videos, the unboxings, and showing the bento heads and all that. I don't know if you guys follow me on YouTube, but I'm more into that these days, so I haven't, thank you. So I haven't been paying attention to, I haven't been really focusing on photoshopping, but back in the day, I used to, I mean, I would spend a couple of hours on just one photo, just post-processing it. Especially when I was doing photography and I used to take pictures of other people, then yeah, you just processing it, I would just spend a couple of hours, 2, 3 hours just processing. But these days it's really, you know, shoot and crop, resize, and you're done. I have a YouTube. Yes, I have a YouTube. Winter's just being a brat. Just ignore him. Um, I think somebody is asking you out, Winter, in live chat. Anyway, so do we have more questions? I don't know if you guys have more questions for me. And also, did my presentation make sense? Like, did you guys learn anything, or was it just all like you can't get depth of field to work? Are you using the Second Life viewer? It looks right during the setup process, but it doesn't appear in my photo. Yeah, actually, that's what I was talking about before, is because you're taking probably a higher resolution photo. So the bigger the size of the image, the less of the depth of field will show up because it's not the same size as your screen. So if you take a snapshot that is just the size of your window, then you'll get the exact same depth of field that you see on your screen. But if you take a bigger size, then the depth of field will be decreased. So you really want to increase play. I don't know if you're using Firestorm. If you're using Firestorm, then in Photo Tools, you want to play with that field of view slider, make it higher, make it look really blurry, and then try taking your image and then see how much of the depth of field is showing up. Have you, okay, somebody's asking, Melinda's asking, have you or will you do any videos on your post-processing tips? To be honest, these days I really don't do that much post-processing. I just kind of, sharpen, and then I save. I have somebody else. Let me just de-render them again. But I'm gonna de-render this person, I think. I don't process that much. Um, I'm just gonna end up de-rendering their head. Um, let me finish. Okay, let me finish what I was talking about before. Sharing post processing tips on my YouTube. I do have a few videos on my YouTube that I did a couple of years ago when I was really into post processing, and I have a playlist on my YouTube. Let me find that, and that has all of my Photoshop tutorials in there. However, um, I'm just well, I'm going to share that playlist right now. All my Photoshop tutorials are in there. These days, I probably wouldn't do a Photoshopping or a post-processing video because I honestly don't do that much post-processing anymore. Because one, the Second Life mesh has really improved the quality of Second Life items and so forth. So it's really improved it. It's become, taking an image, you honestly don't even have to process that much anymore. Back then, we used to have jagged edges. We used to have, lines on our pictures. So that's when you had a lot of post processing. But now with all these beautiful mesh items, perfect mesh faces, beautiful hair, mesh bodies. None of that has to be post-processed. The only thing people these days I think are post-processing are extra shading, extra lighting, all the fancy stuff, which I really didn't do much to begin with. So that's why I don't really post-process that much anymore. I don't feel like it's necessary. This is my playlist that has Photoshop tutorials that I did, a few years ago, but I honestly wouldn't really know what to share now. It's very rare that I go crazy with post processing. Okay, so Winter had a question. Do you know a way to make machinima move smoother and faster without having a beast of a rig? To be honest, no. Because I mean, even I have a pretty decent computer, but I still lag out and have issues when making machinima. Um, but one thing that you can do when you're trying to slow things down is if you go to move and view in preferences, you can play with this smoothing, and if you increase that, you'll notice that when I'm camming around, it's going to be a lot smoother and slower than it was when I had it lower, where it's kind of jerky more. But if I increase that, you can play with some of these things, and it's a little bit smoother, but I don't know how that's going to affect if you don't have a very powerful rig, etc. But you can play with that. And also there is something in Photo Tools as well, I believe. Let me see. I believe it's yes, cam smoothing. This is it. Okay, so if you go to cam, you can play with that as well. And this really slows it down. So I don't know if that is going to help you with the machinima when you're doing that, but it might. I don't know. It might help a little bit, but I really think I don't know how to make machinima look better without having a really powerful computer, because you're always going to have that frame rate issue with lag unless you just put your settings down. You're always going to have that issue. Um, I think somebody's asking for a TP, so I'm just going to TP. I hope they don't land on somebody's head. Okay, so let me see. Does anybody have any other questions? Oh, I haven't been watching chat. Oh yes, 3D mouse is actually great for machinima as well. Um, so I use that as well. Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad you guys found it informative. Trolls and all. Trolls are entertaining though, so it's okay. We don't mind. We'll look back at them with humor. So I think I've kept you guys here for over an hour now. I hope you guys get a time to look around the sim as well. We have there's over 50 artists here that the Cultivate magazine team is representing, showing here. It's great. Which win light do I like best? Honestly, it depends on the situation, but for most of my videos, I use my own win light. It's called Headshots. Um, and that's the one I use. Kind of sorry, tooting my own horn. I also, if you want to know which window win lights I think are really great, I believe Anan Adoreds are really fantastic win lights, and I think everybody should have them. I have a link to them in my win light settings page, so definitely check hers out. She has a wide variety of them. Um, so definitely, if you don't have those, check those out. Thank you, Winter. Thank you everybody for coming. Um, I'll stay here a little bit longer if anybody has any more questions. I'll keep the stream going for a little bit, but we're pretty much done, I think. Yeah, Anan has some really fantastic wind lights, and she has great clouds in her wind lights. Check out her clouds if you have not. In some of her wind lights, the clouds are just phenomenal. I don't know where she got them or how she does it, but they're just beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate you guys. I know a lot of you are already very talented photographers, so you just kind of came here to humor me, and I appreciate that. Yes, yes. Rose just released a lot of moonlights as well. Very pretty. I was using one of hers in my live stream. Do you have a tutorial on setting up a live stream? I actually do not have a tutorial on that um, because setting up a live stream is pretty new to me as well. I was actually messing with new software that I used. I'm starting to use now, and I'm probably going to stick with using this software because it's very easy. I'll tell you what it is. It's OBS Studio, and it's free. I'm trying to link it. I'll link it both in World and in chat. So this is the software that I'm using to stream right now. It's absolutely free to download, to use. You can actually use it to record as well. So you can save the recording and upload it to YouTube, or you can live stream it. So obsproject.com. It's great software and it's free. So if you want to use that to record or to stream, I highly suggest it. It's very easy to use. And if I can figure it out, you guys can figure it out. But I also looked up some tutorials of it on YouTube to try to get fix some of the settings. So you guys can look that up too and mess with the settings. I think we're good now. So I think I'm going to stop the live streaming now because I don't want to make the YouTube video. So I think it's probably over an hour already. So I'm going to stop the live streaming, but I'm going to hang out in Worlds a little bit longer if you guys want to ask me more questions or chat or whatever. But thank you so much to everybody that joined the live stream, and I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, let me stop that.